Welcome to Beta Bay, featuring speakers from San Francisco all the way to Monterey. Toastmasters is an awesome organization. I still can't believe that I'm speaking here in front of you, considering that I was so afraid of standing up in front of an audience, unable to say a single word. And that is one of the greatest benefits of being a member of Toastmasters. Toastmasters creates an environment where it's easy for anybody to overcome their fear or to become super speakers. And that is exactly what two of our speakers are doing here this evening. Both of our speakers are speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual. This is the basic manual that everyone goes through. They are both doing the 10th speech, Inspire Your Audience. Please help me welcome our very first speaker today. The title of her speech is Freedom of Choice. Please help me welcome Elisabeth Hamon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. I had the chance when I was younger to travel around the world thanks to a father who had a globetrotter spirit and the fact that he worked for an airline, so we were entitled to discounted airfare. When I grew up, I continued being passionate about traveling and multicultural interactions, so I decided to work in the tourism industry. I had had a chance to come to the US quite often as a child because my godparents were on the East Coast. And one day they offered me to come live with them for a few months and experience a longer stay than just a vacation. I was living at my father's house at the time. I had a good job, but with limited growth opportunity. I had no car, no boyfriend, no apartment. I decided it was a perfect opportunity I couldn't miss. So I applied for a visa, met with an INS agent who was a little bit concerned that I was going to leave behind a good job to try something different. But I reassured him my intentions were not to work illegally, which is usually their concern, but I wanted to improve speaking better English, which was going to be very useful, obviously, in tourism. A few weeks later, my visa was granted, and I moved to the US. I studied and worked a little bit with a temporary job, and then one day heard about an opportunity on the West Coast. So I packed my bags, put everything in my car, and crossed country and arrived in San Francisco. Everything went well. The job was not as great as expected, but it was a still good learning opportunity. And my visa getting close to expiration, I felt it was worth attempting to get an extension, which I was okay if it wouldn't go through going home and just ending this adventure. This was before I met my husband-to-be. We very quickly fell in love. We very quickly realized that we're mature enough to know we were meant for each other. So everything was going well for a few weeks until I received a notification from the immigration informing me that my visa was not going to be renewed. I had the option to go home and apply for a new one, but we decided that was not a good option. So I called my parents and said, you know, that person I vaguely mentioned to you, what are you doing next month? We're getting married. So they came, as well as some of my best friends, and we had a wonderful celebration. After that, I was granted a green card, and everything was going pretty smoothly. I became pregnant, and a couple years later, September 11 hit. And regulations towards immigration became stricter and stricter. And I realized one day that there could be a chance that someday my green card would not be renewed. And I couldn't accept the idea that I could someday be told I was not allowed to live with my own husband and children. So I decided, and I had the chance to be able to request my citizenship after a few years being married to an American. I applied for the citizenship, paid the fee, made with an immigrant agent, and waited for my notification in the mail. When it arrived, I probably put that in my calendar, put it aside, and waited for the day of. On the day of, I probably mentioned to my husband at breakfast time, I'm heading to immigration today to take the oath, but it was probably one topic in the middle of others at the breakfast table. I headed there in casual clothes and walked toward the entrance of the building where I was told to come, and saw a line of people dressed up very nicely, like they were attending a wedding. I felt I was probably at the wrong address, so I asked the agent. He told me I was at the right place, so I entered the room. There were two sections, one for the people taking the oath and one for their guests and families. That second section had at least twice as many people as the ones taking the oath. And I really just could not understand what was going on. I sat down like everyone, and the session started. We were all asked to come to the podium, one after the other. Cameras were shooting, people were crying. I was wondering what was going on. And suddenly, a feel of shame ran through my veins. I suddenly understood what was going on. I suddenly realized how lightly I had taken this whole process, because I had the chance to have been born on the right side of the fence. Most of the people in that room had no other choice. They had left behind their families, their belongings, that they were pretty sure they would never see again. They had been illegal maybe for years. They had put their child in custody of some family members to raise them for them. And they had no idea if they would ever make it back. They had left behind everything, and this day was the most important day of their life. If there's something I can say, is that I realized that day how lucky I was, and how so many people do not have the chance I had to just choose to take that citizenship without having to give up what I had left back at my original home. So if I have a word to our current president and the many who follow, I hope they will take every consideration they can and every decision in their power to support immigrants who come to this country to find a better life for their loved ones. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.
Wow. Elisabeth, I have a certain affinity towards immigration-related topics. What was 9/11? What was it that inspired this particular speech?
I think really I will never forget the day I took the oath, and I was there acknowledging how important it was for some people, most of the people in that room, and realizing that I had taken it so lightly because I was just lucky that I had the choice that they didn't have.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Elisabeth.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, evaluating Elisabeth Hamon's speech today is a past district governor. Please help me welcome Tony DeLeon.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, most of all, Elisabeth, I enjoyed your speech a lot. The title, Freedom of Choice, from the very beginning had me thinking, what are you going to be speaking about? Is it an obvious topic? And it wasn't, because the way you began your story is that you started at home somewhere. And we'll still need to find out where your original home was, and I think that's something we need to clarify later on in your speech. And you told us about tourism and how you got involved because you were part of a globe-trotting family. And I love the word globe-trotting. I thought that was a great word usage. And it created an image of a family that was fairly well off somewhere that was able to travel at will. Now, somewhere in your life, you had a choice to explore the United States. And you did. You explored the East Coast, you explored the West Coast, and somewhere in there, there was a love story. And you discovered the love of your life. And you had to make a choice. And at that time, you didn't think of it as a major choice in life. You just were choosing a partner. You simply called your parents to come over. And here we are, you're married and in love in the United States. And then you said 9/11 hit. And it's time to think, am I really here for good? What can I do? And of course, you applied for citizenship. And for you, it was second nature. You had an affinity to pass the test. And it wasn't until the day you were there to take the oath that you realized how much you really accomplished, what it actually means to many people to have that oath. So you got me thinking, as a natural-born citizen of the United States, how lucky I have it. And to realize that many people do leave their homes. Now, one suggestion I will make in your speech is to let us know where you started, because you referred to home several times. And as I start to look at you and listen to your accent, I'm going to try, it may distract the listener from listening to the message of your speech. Also, I would like you to maybe open your speech with a question. Have you ever thought what other people go through to live in the United States? And then maybe go into your speech. Just that way you have a question to ponder while we're listening to your speech. But I really, really enjoyed your speech. Looking forward to your next one. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tony. Last year, the district introduced the Diamond Director Award. Well, this year, we're going to do it right all over again. And we have three of the top videos that were contenders, including the winner that was from San Francisco Toastmasters. I am inviting each one of you to participate in this contest. What is required is you submit a 1-minute video, and the best of those videos submitted by all of the clubs is going to be awarded the Diamond Director Award at the at the Fall Conference coming up in May. So now let it roll and enjoy.
The best part about coming to a meeting, it's the feeling that you're in a group of friends and that you're here to improve your public speaking skills, and there's a very supportive group to help you in that process.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I walked in here the first few meetings as a guest, and I am just amazed at the ability and the skills that people already have here, whether they've been members for a month or they've been members for 5 years.
At a point in my life and in my career where I was wanting to practice my speaking skills, I was a little rough around the edges, and what better place to do it than San Francisco Toastmasters.
This is a community. We enjoy each other, we inspire each other, and that's what really makes it great.
As we all know, evaluations is the single most important part of Toastmasters experience. And the next step, since we believe in helping others grow and get really good, we take our evaluation sessions very seriously. With one proper evaluation that most clubs do, and a round robin, whereby every single member of the audience gets an opportunity to provide feedback to the speaker. We spend sometimes 7 to 8 minutes doing round-robin evaluations because everybody at Next Step loves to give evaluations.
I particularly like the engineering side of the talk.
I think you could do more with analogies.
We tape each and every meeting.
It helps when you can see yourself on tape.
That starts with the people. The people here are very distinguished.
There's just so much fun in the room. I always hear a lot of laughter.
This is the place to try things, right? To try humor in your speeches. We're going to clap for you regardless. And of course, at Next Step, you'll get some really, really good feedback as well.
Do you like to have fun?
Do you like to have fun?
Do you like to have fun?
Today is your lucky day.
An opportunity to meet fun and meet fantastic people is available right now.
Golden Gate Toastmasters.
Golden Gate Toastmasters.
Golden Gate Toastmasters.
It's been described as challenging,
Fun.
Spontaneous.
Awesome.
It's the perfect environment to step out of your public speaking comfort zone. But wait, there's even more!
Not only do you get to improve your communication and leadership skills.
You get to hang out and socialize with amazing people.
After every meeting, we go to the pub.
But
wait, there's even more!
Golden Gate Toastmasters does a lot of other social activities such as
summer barbecue,
the holiday party. We go hiking together, sailing.
Visit www.goldengatetoastmasters.org to learn more.
Or, even better, come by. Visit
Golden Gate Toastmasters!
Welcome back. This is Bernard Arias, your host today. Our next speaker this evening is actually a much more experienced speaker, but like I said earlier, he is working from the Competent Communicator Manual. He is working on his 10th speech, Inspire Your Audience. Please put your hands together for Denet Lewis. The title of his speech is Mindset.
Have you had a rough day? Have you ever had a rough week? Maybe you had a rough month, or a rough year, or even a rough couple of years. Have you ever crashed and burned? Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. I miss saying that. Let me say it again. Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests and viewers. I go back a long ways in Toastmasters. It brings back memories when I say that. I went, served my club as a club officer, became the area governor. I loved it. I got to mentor people. I mentored clubs. I did my high performance leadership program. And I enjoyed every step of the way, met a bunch of good friends, and really learned how to stretch my skills. And at the end, I achieved my Distinguished Toastmaster Award, the highest level that Toastmasters recognizes. Yet, I didn't get any promotion at work. I didn't get the raise I wanted. How could that be? Was vocal variety not what I needed to deliver at work? Was presenting and telling stories perhaps the wrong area for me to be focusing on? I got really good at firefighting and solving day-to-day issues, but the better you get, the more issues you have to fix. It's a never-ending story. The more you build a reputation of being good at it, the more problems you get coming at you because you know how to solve them. And it's a never-ending cycle. I burnt out. I burnt out pretty bad. I crashed and burned. And after pouring my heart into it, I needed a break. I was lying on the floor, turned sideways, found the love of my life there, went, poured my heart into a relationship. But a year later, it crashed and burned. I don't think I'm alone, though. Have you ever had a relationship that didn't work out? Has your career gone as far as you wanted it? Have you put your heart into something and learned, but not had the results that you had once hoped for? Did you reach all your goals? What happened to my $1 million before 40? How did 40 come up on me so quick? Almost 41 now, 1 week away today. How quickly a year goes. How quickly a decade goes. What skills do you have? So I start really contemplating and thinking about this, and I go back to my childhood. In high school, I had some great experiences and successes. I sold my life story to Sony TriStar before the age of 20 for a true life story of a movie. No, my real teacher was not as good looking as Halle Berry, who played the part in the movie Race the Sun. They told the story, that the real life story that we had of building a solar car in high school and going to Australia to we became the first high school to officially finish a World Solar Challenge. I think about the lessons I learned there. I remember my mentor, Bud Steinhilber. He was a retired industrial designer. And I remember he would always elegantly state these phrases. And he came and said, "You were able to achieve so much because no one told you how hard it was. Had you known how hard it was, you would have never achieved it." And I start to think, what about you today? What limits are you setting on yourself? How have you conditioned yourself to think you can't achieve it? Are you holding yourself back? Do you have the right mindset? I started reading this book, The Millionaire Mind, and when I flipped through the pages, a connection was made. Instantly, I realized it's the same thing for fitness. Do you commit to fitness, or do you want to be fit? Do you say it's something I'm gonna accomplish, or it's something I'd kind of like to do? You need to put your heart into it. It's the same in life. Put your heart into it. Have the right mindset that you can do it. You can accomplish it. Take the lessons that I learned in high school. Not to put limits on yourself. Not to have conditions of what you can achieve, but to think about how you can contribute to society by really pouring your heart out and accomplishing more without holding yourself back. I ask you to join me if you're frustrated. Look a little harder, dig a little deeper. Let's turn ourselves around. Let's re-inspire ourselves. Let's reinvent ourselves, and let's not hold ourselves back. Let's change our mindsets and go out there and accomplish all that we can in this life for the future generations and the current generations. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Denet. Wow. I've read The Millionaire Mind. Is there
Great book, isn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That
Me
was
too.
awesome. Yeah. Now, do you have any one tip that you can offer your audience this evening to help them change their mind?
I do. You can do it. Just think of one area of your life that you are successful in and realize that success in one area actually translates to other areas. When you read that book, if you've been successful in fitness or any part of your life, you realize the mindset that you had in sports is the exact same that you need in finance. It's the I can do attitude. So look for one area of your life, one little bit that you've been a little bit successful in, and then translate that and carry it out to other areas of your life.
Wow. So focus on what you're good at.
Absolutely.
Oh, excellent.
Your natural talents.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that, Denet.
All right.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes. Wonderful to have you. Now, evaluating Denet's great speech this evening is Division C Governor Caspar Horne.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Denet, I thought it was a great speech. You really had the message for us. You really started out strongly. You gave us a question. If you ever had a bad day, of course, everybody has had a bad day. If you had a bad week, a bad month, a bad year, you start feeling, yeah, there's something there. And then you told us how you'd been in Toastmasters, how you progressed through the Toastmasters, and went all the way to become Distinguished Toastmaster. But I didn't give what you expected it. Because in your life, You only were fighting fires and you got somewhat burned out. And the same happened in your love life. So you basically set up your audience that although you try hard to achieve what you want, it doesn't always work out that way. And it made us think, I think, yeah, that sometimes happens. You set yourself a goal maybe, but you don't get there. And then you came to sort of, I think, the nucleus of your story. Don't set limits on yourself. Try to reinvent yourself and become better at what you do. And if you want to do that, go full out. Don't hold yourself back, but really commit to something. And if you do that, you can achieve much more. And you gave us a story. You went back to your childhood, your high school years, where you told us, a great story. You built a solar car, and it's unique, especially in those days. Something that is really, really something to aspire to. And I think when you bring those memories back, it sort of inspires you, and it brings back the dreams that you have in yourself. Whereas when we become adults, we sometimes get into this mode of fighting one fire after the other. So bringing back those dreams makes you aspire to something. And if we don't put limits, and that I think you brought out very well, help us to make the next step and achieve something. So I thought you gave a very good speech. You really connected with the audience. You looked around nicely. You had great gestures. I really enjoyed it. You brought out the inspirational message also. I thought one suggestion I have for improvement, I thought the beginning maybe was a little long, where you told about the negative aspects. I think if you would put more focus on what we would do, past your limits, I think that would inspire the audience even more. But overall, I really enjoyed your speech. I'm looking forward to your next speech. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Caspar. Well, that concludes this evening's Beta Bay from San Francisco to Monterey. And we hope to see you at our next show. Don't forget to find out more about Beta Bay. Go to www.d4tm.org.